we have Mr. Sidharth Tripathy, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly,
Yes.
joining us this afternoon or this morning still from India. He is the founder and CEO of Skills and Learning Global. He is also an ALM from 2011. He is a serial entrepreneur since 2003 when he built Brand Gain, Asia's first sales and marketing process outsourcing company. He conceived of skills and while doing a course on educational innovation and social entrepreneurship at Harvard in 2011. Before becoming an entrepreneur, Siddharth had a multi-industry experience working with global corporations like GE, FedEx, and others. And with that, I turn over the presentation.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for the introduction. Very quickly, we are going to do a little quiz to begin with. And so I call them, there are some hard questions and some simple answers, though. So let's look at what's common here. They all kind of come from different categories. There is a country out there. There is a company. There are individuals. Well, perhaps what's common, besides the fact that all of them might have got busted, it is at the root of it is individuals and their poor decision-making skills. So, when we think of decision-making skills, the question comes into our mind, what's the right age to learn decision making? 30? Maybe 16? Or perhaps 6 for some of the smarter kids? Well, scientifically, human beings start making conscious decisions from the age of 6 onwards. We have had when I was doing this program, and as part of my research, I went into doing some searching in the journals of Harvard Med School, Department of Psychology, and so many, and found a lot of evidence that the human brain primarily starts hardwiring at that age, and roughly hardwires for the next 10 years. But from that, let's move to which is the world's most archaic structure? Well, I'm really not moving here from technology to archaeology or history, but the interesting thing is I'm not talking about a building, because that perhaps is not the most archaic structure. Perhaps the most archaic living structure in the world is the K-12 school curriculum. And that's the same structure that our forefathers, went to school to study. Our parents did, we did, and so are our children. School curriculums prevalent across the world have largely remained unchanged for over 500 years since its creation in Europe, sometime in the 16th century. So these are all the symptoms. What is the real problem? Well, the real problem is our world is suffering from the poor decision making of individuals because almost 99.99% of them never acquired critical skills during the hardwiring period of their brain. Because we acquire the learnings from the curriculums that we use, and all the curriculums prevalent across the world are primarily fact-based curriculum, information being passed across, they're not skills-based curriculum. So that led to the founding belief, which led to the genesis of this venture. And that was that if critical skills can be administered to the fast-growing minds when they are still in a moldable age, that's roughly between 6 to 16 years, then their brains will get hardwired to apply those learnings for real-life problem solving, almost getting skilled almost in a helpless manner. It gets coded into you. So that's like almost saying that I can have this ethical skills without needing any incentive or disincentive to be ethical. That brings us to the solution. Can we design the entire billion population of these young minds to have these skills like leadership, negotiation, ethics? Of course we can, if we created the world's first critical skills curriculum for K-12. Now, when we look at what a critical skills curriculum would look like, it would have skills that are used in our day-to-day life as individuals, as social beings, as global citizens. So you would look at some skills like leading others, as much as looking at networking skills, virtual productivity. We are spending a good amount of time on the virtual world, and if we do not have these skills in the next generation, that's like being on a highway not knowing driving. How much more dangerous can we get to ourselves and to everybody else who's on that highway? On things like environmental sustainability and entrepreneurship and the whole range of economic common sense. So these are all the skills that we've looked at and really looked at the age appropriateness and kind of graded them. So that forms the background of the world's first critical skills curriculum. And how do we look at the outcomes and the impact of this curriculum? Well, humongous impacts as we look at really creating a whole large population who are coded to become in various situations, display leadership skills, followership skills, better decision makers, smarter consumers, because at all points of time they're transacting, and become ethical global citizens. But how do we transfer these skills? At the end of the day, skills are not about knowing; it's about doing. So when we look at how we are going to do that, it's a very comprehensive design of the pedagogy. The most interesting thing is that we are talking about a global curriculum and a global classroom as well. So a kid sitting somewhere in India who is going through this, let's say, leadership case story, he is not only just looking at that leadership case story as content, he's also getting the context, because a kid hearing about the same case story in Africa sees it through a different lens, and the kid in Boston, for that matter, would see it from a completely different lens, and all those perspectives get shared. So we are looking at building the world's largest library of case stories, world's largest library of skill games. How about somebody, playing a game where he's perhaps speeding or looking at traffic signs, but learning about what are the traffic rules for social media and movement in the social media world. So applying and simulating using skill games, practicing through interactive activities, global peer forums, online and offline skills module, because we are talking about making this reach to about 1 billion population that is roughly in that age category 6 to 16. So which means that would include kids somewhere in parts of Africa where they don't even go to schools, forget about internet. So of course there are other mechanisms that through offline modules that we are going to make this. So this is a broad skills transfer roadmap. Let's look at how it's kind of going to happen. Okay, so we are talking about online and offline skills modules. How they can really see this. Okay, let's look at this is a peek into the economic common sense module.
Imagine a situation when you need to buy something from America. What is the first thing that strikes you? Going to America? It is not a bad idea, but it will surely make you shell out a lot of money. So who comes out to help you here? It is the internet. It is the website on the internet where you go and place your order. But it does not need to be internet all the time. It is what you want. It could be a car dealer,
So that's a quick glimpse about how the the sort of modules would be operated. We're also looking at in a lot of interactive activity. A quick glimpse of that. You see that how in different situations they're going to look at a situation and kind of define what are the different types of leadership skills that will come to fore in that particular situation. Or perhaps looks at case stories of famous leaders, and maybe an earlier year grade kid would just match with visual inputs and say, okay, this is how I see spiritual leaders or political leaders or religious leaders for that matter. Skill games, this is perhaps the X factor of the entire curriculum. Now let's look at, we have these dozens of games, let's say on social media skills alone. So this is just like another game that kids play, SimCity, Super Mario, or any of these games that we can think about. So you can play the game. There are rules into the game, and this game is going to teach you behavior on social media. So it's something so simple as that there are some traffic rules, which roads you are going to take and which roads you are going to avoid. And then you kind of basically playing a driving game or speeding game, if you will. And you see some points, and you see that what to avoid. In the process, you learn that what are the do's and don'ts. And the levels go on increasing as you increase your understanding about these do's and don'ts in social media, and your skill acquisition levels gets better. And at the end of it, you also come across this sort of a certificate which says, hey, skills and congratulations, you just got new social media skills. And what are they? Respecting others, being a giver, not disclosing. So it also sort of brings up the revision methodology here. So it's a pedagogy wherein we have used the time-tested techniques as well as the new age mechanics like gamification. So that's roughly an idea about what this kind of curriculum is going to be and how we are going to make this reach to the whole world. And I invite you all to join this global mission to transform the decision-making DNA of about 1 billion young citizens of 21st century. Thank you.
So if we can get you to come up on the screen, that would be great. 1 second. And can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah. Am I back on the screen?
We see ourselves. So one more. All right, we can see you again. Wonderful. So we have some questions. I'll start with Michael in the back.
In your model, how do you build in real face-to-face communication and interaction between young people as opposed to everything done online?
That's a great question. I think there are two levels of this face-to-face interaction happening. We're already having various schools in India and Singapore starting to implement this curriculum. So the model of hybrid implementation is happening, wherein what happens that they are actually in a classroom, and part of what you just saw actually happens as homework. So in the class, actually an interaction happens. They delve into some of these concepts and topics, and then they go back and play this game or this exercise or something. So what you saw as the curriculum here for a pure online model would actually become what they do at home. And so there's a lot of connection also that what they do, some of these exercises along with their parents as well, because this is about real world skills. So there is real interaction happening in the class. Besides that, for the ones that are going to be in sort of an online forum and in global classroom, so to say, so they are able to, just like a real classroom, know that who else is in the classroom. There is a kid from Argentina in the classroom. There's a kid from Africa right now in the classroom. as I am in my own time learning about, say, leadership skills. And I can literally really nudge this user, that other learner, they say, just like in real classrooms, we nudge somebody sitting at the back and ask, hey, I didn't understand this. Can you tell me more about it? Or what is your example about this? So that's how it's going to be. There will be physical classrooms where there is physical sharing actually happens, but where it is online, they will be actually even better because they are actually engaging with a global learner, co-learner, so to say.
The next question comes from Leilani.
Aloha. Oh, wait, sorry. Where is this?
Just talk.
Okay. So how do you envision your curriculum being integrated with the Common Core state standards in the United States?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question because whenever, as I said, that's why I said that we are perhaps dealing with the most archaic structure somewhere. There are cosmetic changes that is happening, whether it's in US or Israel or India or Singapore for that matter. But largely when we bring in from information-based curriculum, fact-based curriculum to a skill curriculum like this, and that to critical skills, management skills, in a way, basically it is complementing, okay, to some of the things that we talk about, like of the large portfolio of skills that we have identified, some already find some resonance, like leadership or economics or environment and things like that. But there are a lot of others which are really identified as the problems that they will face. They need to be skilled to engage and influence their world in the couple of years from now, such as social media skills or virtual productivity skills. So these are something that are new. So for example, even Common Core does not yet acknowledge them in that sense as a need to learn or acquire. So basically what is happening is that currently it is sort of a top up to the curriculums that exist. It is really not needing to integrate because it's complementing. So what is happening is that in real sense in a classroom in India, they are sort of adding, saying, okay, once a week you are going to add this critical skills session wherein this curriculum plays. So just like you had other subjects, so critical skills becomes another stream or another subject through which this entire curriculum is going to play from entire grade 1 to grade 12.
For one more question, I think, Maggie?
Thank you for your presentation. I think maybe you just answered my question, but of course, children don't learn by doing something one time. So I wondered how you're going to reinforce these skills. And are there different levels? For example, if they master one skill, do they go to a higher level, or just exactly how does it work?
Okay, fantastic. There's this little semicircle, the wheel that I showed earlier, which puts all these skills. Actually, what happens is that they are all spanning across grades. Now, there are certain skills, for example, if I talk of leadership, it would span across, let's say, grade 4 to grade 12. But let's say something like ethics would span from grade 1 to grade 12. So which means what would happen is that they are going to come across a different kind of a case story in grade 1, perhaps just looking at the picture of Mother Teresa and identifying, saying, she's doing something kind, okay? She's showing compassion. But in grade 4, the same case story converts into them reflecting. And in grade 12, perhaps them doing something of their own and coming back and putting that as a content to be shared with others. So basically what it happens that the level of that entire comprehension and synthesis and all of that goes on increasing. Now, there are some skills such as entrepreneurship, it would, let's say, grade it to start at, say, grade 8 onwards. So yes, but from 8 to 12 itself, again, it is graded in the levels of what all they can do. Say grade 1 to 3, these kids can see more than they can read, for example, just as a matter of speed, how much they can see in a given X number of seconds versus how much they can read. So there's a lot amount of visual inputs and their exercises and what they do or even applications is all of that format. But as they go to higher grades, that same degree of application and the reflection of a different case story, all of that actually becomes more age appropriate as we go. So it's basically scientifically criterion referenced and evidence backed sort of a curriculum.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. And do you have any final words you'd like to share before we sign off?
Yeah, so basically my vision is that, going back to the first slide, the kind of, gross decision-making failures that we see at individual level across sectors around the world, somewhere I felt that, we need the next generation to be absolutely coded differently to kind of be a more autonomous citizen who has all these skills, and that's how we named it as Skillizen, and a citizen with skills is going to be. So we feel that we can have the world inhabited by not normal citizens or netizens, but Skillizens.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.